Um, I just wanted to talk about what the League of Women Voters did several years ago. And I wanted to let you know that before the League of Women Voters can advocate for or lobby for an issue, the membership must study the issue, must come to consensus or concurrence, and must establish a position. So we had an established position about the environment, and our local Lee County League got involved when sites were being, in the environmental issues, when sites were being proposed for the Florida 10th anniversary, or 10th university here in Lee County. We lobbied strongly against the placement that we are now sitting in. And we lobbied for the sites that were not wetland sensitive or environmentally sensitive lands. We lost, obviously. But with that loss, there was a lawsuit that was presented by the environmental community advocates, and the Arnold Commission was formed to address land use issues and its impact on our environment, that the university would have on our environment. And out of the Arnold Commission came the Agency for Bay Management of the Estero Bay. So what I'm saying is, before you start to get involved in an issue, you need to educate yourself about the issues by reading materials, talking with knowledgeable individuals, and attending seminars similar to this one. Also, I want to say that during this time frame that we were lobbying, we did have the ear, and some of our elected officials have like thinking, which is not present at this time. I do want to take the opportunity to thank some of the individuals that we trusted, that we asked and questions about. They were willing to work with us. The first one was Bill Hammond, who was, at that time, he was the Southwest Florida representative to the state, to the South Florida Water Management District. Ray Judah, who was the Lee County Commissioner. Colonel Terry Rice, who was a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Wayne Daltrey, Jim Beaver, Laura Miller, who was our representative to the Agency of Bay Management for Estero Bay. Ellie Boyd, who was founder of Responsible Growth Management. Jennifer Hecker, and David Yates, and John Cassani. They were all very willing to work with us. So what we did, I've done it, okay. After the Agency for Bay Management was initiated and implemented, we then, there was a coalition that formed, that was a grassroots initiative to tax ourselves in Lee County $500,000 to purchase land for conservation. The initiative was called Conservation 2020. We worked extremely hard, and we would go before the county commissioners because we wanted a referendum on the ballot. It was always a 3-2 vote. We did not want any, we wanted it to be mandatory, and we had to compromise quite a bit because they came back and said it'll only be a straw vote, which meant if it passed, they really didn't have to implement it. So several organizations at that time dropped out. They felt that that was not reasonable, and they left. But a core group of us hung in there, and we kept going, and then we did get the final say to put it on the ballot. We worked extremely hard to get it passed. It passed at all precincts but one, and that was one precinct in Cape Coral. After it was passed, the county commissioners, in their wonderful knowledge, decided to hold Conservation 2020 implementation hostage by calling on mitigation banking. And they discussed it, and they discussed it. So finally, the members that had worked so hard, along with the news press, started chastising the county commissioners for dragging their feet. And we got and reprimanded them at one of their county commissioner meetings. It finally was implemented, and as you are aware, I do believe you know what Conservation 2020 is, and it has been one of the most successful citizens initiative this county has ever seen. After that, we decided that that was not enough, so we decided to lobby the Terry Colonel Rice with the U.S. Corps of Engineers to do a Southwest environmental impact study. And we talked with him and we lobbied him, and he did come down and meet with us. And he looked at the university and he was concerned about the placement of the university. And he decided to implement a Southwest Florida environmental impact study. It was a 12-week, 2-day-a-week, with all stakeholders involved in the process. We all worked extremely hard for those 12 weeks. We had lots of input, lots of information. The draft of the EIS is now sitting in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers bookcase gathering dust. I bring it up every time I sit with the colonel at any meetings and ask, why is this environmental impact study not being utilized and looked at? So if you would like, please. I think Wayne, or Jim Beaver has a copy of the EIS. I think Wayne Daltrey has a copy of the EIS. It would be something that we identified lots of areas in, like the DRGR, the density reduction groundwater recharge area, environmentally sensitive lands. Anyway, it's there. I hope that it gets utilized. So after we did that, I was appointed by Governor Lawton Chiles to serve on the Southwest Issues Group for the South Florida Sustainability Committee. And that was really interesting. We met once a month, and one of the things that was really interesting to me was that Lehigh Acres, we would talk about Lehigh Acres and the development in Lehigh Acres. And the reason that Lehigh Acres is so hard with development and control is because they have platted lands. And so it presents a whole new issue. Then after that, we had the flooding in Bonita Springs, and we called Bill Hammond and said, the league would like to come, and could you please enlighten us about why it's flooding in Bonita Springs? We had 5 members go and meet with him and Chip Merriam, and he gave us a 6-hour crash course on why what is happening in the environment and why Bonita had been flooded. We also started traveling with Bill either by private plane or by car over to the South Florida Water Management District. And we got very involved with them. So that's what we did in that time frame. We still lobby for Conservation 2020. We're disappointed in the way it's being handled now. But anyway, we're still lobbying on environmental issues. So now our focus is on climate change. I serve on the League of Women Voters of Lee County, the League of Women Voters of the United States Climate Change Task Force. And right now, we're lobbying all the national, local leagues to have put before our convention in June a climate change directive so that we can start doing this nationally as a climate change issue and not sporadically to different local leagues. Also, the Lee County League lobbied local cities in Lee County. At the time, Estero was not a city, and the Sanibel did not sign, but there is an agreement called the Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement, and all the cities at the time have signed on to it except Sanibel, so they might be encouraged to start implementing it. The league does educational environmental meetings every year, and I have literature in the back if you're interested in what is up and coming. And I would like to invite you to our February 1st meeting where the League of Women Voters will be 100 years old. We were founded 6 months before the passage of the 19th Amendment by the suffragettes of the initiative. And then in August 28th, we will have a 100th anniversary celebration here at FGCU for the passage of the women's right to vote. Thank you.